Thank you for this warm welcome again to this lovely city. I was here a few years ago in this very hall, I remember, and I see some familiar faces, lots of new faces too. Before we start, if any one of you got an empty seat beside you, put your hand up. And those who are behind, come and fill it up. Not in the... Please come and fill it up. Those who are coming in, come in the front. Yeah. Okay. I still see cars coming, so we don't want any more disturbance. Fill up all the front seats. If there's any empty seat, those who are behind or just coming in, please fill up those seats. Remaining, those one or two volunteers who are at the door, please tell them to go to the sides and either sit down or they may stand. We start with the short invocation. Is the sound okay? There's some feedback. And I need a little bit more vibrancy in the sound, otherwise they'll go to sleep. It's not a meditation session, it's a life motivating session. So I need the sound not echoing though. Yeah. Being like most of you, very interested in knowledge, very keen on my studies, very sincere in my school and college. I was always inquiring about, the echo is there. I was always Hari Om. We don't want that echo sound. There must be a feature there.
It's from the hall.
It's from the hall? It's not from there? Okay. Then you must be quite used to it. I'm not used to it, so I'm feeling a bit uneasy that you don't feel strained. It's okay, the sound volume is okay. Just a little bit lower. Just a wee bit lower. Maybe avoid that. Okay, that's it. But with all my education, like most of you must have experienced also, that we were taught how to make a living, but it is only in our family and through the teachings of our grandmothers and maybe the role models in our life that we really learned how to live our life. Unfortunately, the most of the time that goes in learning, we don't even learn skills that will be useful to us. A lot of information which we no longer need when we get into the field of work. And most of our life goes studying these subjects just to get a degree, to get a job in which we will never apply this knowledge. Because again, we have to relearn it in our work field. When I heard Gurudev's statement, there are education teaches us how to make a living, but not how to live our life. We all want to be happy. We all want to feel a sense of completeness, fulfillment. We want a meaningful relationship with the people and in our environment. Yet, most of our knowledge that we learn does not teach that. And even if we are taught from books, until and unless we make it our conviction, we are not able to live and experience the joy of living. Even not now, but from a number of years, you can imagine children coming and asking us Swamis, we want a private interview. When one 7-year-old boy in my first visit in USA, and that too also in 1989, comes up and tells me, Swamiji, I want to meet you privately. I looked at that little fellow and said, what do you want to talk private about? I thought maybe he's got complaints about his parents or what. And that's nothing to be private about, because parents just accept the complaint of their children, but children will never accept about their parents. So I said, what are your complaints about? What is it about? And when that 7-year-old child told me that he is depressed, and this is not now, depressed, a vocabulary that did not, a word that did not exist in our vocabulary. And today it's become so common. The childhood which is meant for looking forward in life with enthusiasm, with hopes and expectations, with joy and playfulness, where learning should be fun, and yet we go through such situation today as children. Then what have we done with our society? Even as I grew into a youngster, and when, really speaking, had everything good in my life, but yet there was a quest inside to get answers to life questions. We all want to be successful, not only monetarily, but we all want to be successful, and in that success we hope for some sense of fulfillment, joy, happiness, comfort, but we do not seem to get it. Then what is life all about? What is the purpose of life? When such questions start arising, the quest begins. And when I came across Gurudev's books particularly, before even I met him, I was amazed at what answers to our life's dilemmas, which have been the same from time immemorial. We think times have changed. Yes, of course, electronics have come and traffic is there, but they had their own issues. Yeah? How do we deal with these problems of our own mind, our own life? You mean to say that people thousands of years ago did not want happiness? Or they really had no problems, absolutely. They had their famines, they had their battles, they had their tribal wars, they had their own terrorisms also. Yeah. They had their racism also. No? What has really changed? They also had to struggle for their success. They had to be innovative in discovering new methods of getting food, etc. They had to have entrepreneurship, adventure spirit, travel, discover technologies. Like I saw one of these WhatsApp messages. One young boy was sitting with his grandfather on a ledge on a beach wall, and he's telling, and he's as usual. This is called evolution these days. He's looking and saying, grandfather, you all did not have cell phones, you did not have WhatsApp, you did not have Google, you did not have Siri, you didn't have all these. What were you all doing at that time? And he said, we were busy inventing it for you. What are you doing with it? For the next generation. No? Interesting, no? And we think that they are outdated. Whatever technology we have is not invented in this generation, it's invented in the previous generation. And yet our thinking is such that we live a life of arrogance, discarding the elderly as well as the ancient, not recognizing that what has gone through the test of time is its own evidence. That science which one day tells you to not drink milk and drink soya milk, and after another 10 years tells you that's horrible for you, and then drink almond milk, and then say that almond milk creates gas and it will give you arthritis. And then you eat olive oil, but now it's not olive oil, it's avocado oil. And then avocado oil, it goes out of the market, then you should have quinoa. No? And if quinoa is not selling that well because it's not that tasty, gluten-free wheat. Because otherwise you can't make chapati. And then you eat artificial gluten. No? So, a science which keeps on changing cannot be called as a science. But that which has gone through the test of time and has produced its result time immemorial, it is that knowledge that we should consider to be as authentic. And remember, all of us in our teenage, don't say these teenagers, you were like that, we were also like that. We thought that modern is advanced, everything old is primitive. Every generation goes through it. No? Nothing different now. No? Every generation goes through those things. Now tell me, suppose you are one of those favorite patients to the doctor, these days highly insured, and keeps coming for every small disease. Such people become favorite to the doctor. And suppose you are one of those and your doctor tells you that I have last night itself discovered a remedy for all your diseases. And you being my favorite person, favorite patient, you are the first one, you are the pioneer patient that I want to administer this special medicine. Will you take it? It's not yet come up on Google also. It has not gone through a test of time. Every time, sometimes you go, the doctor says, oh, this medicine has got no side effect. Every year you go to the doctor, oh no, the previous one had side effect, but this one has side effect. I'm not talking anything ill about medicine science, it is also a developing science, but will you take it?
No.
And yet how easily we brush that which is ancient. If the Bhagavad Gita was talking about one particular incident, like a war, today also we have to face wars. And don't tell me in your house you're not facing big battles. No? If it was talking about how to use weaponry in war, then it is of that situation for that time. But these books of life management, not just how to make a living. These books of life management, very often we brush off as religious books, we brush them off as, things only to be worshipped, wrapped in satin cloths or brocade cloths, or we call it as myth. Or we think, not now, when I die, I will learn how to live life. Books like the Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to live our life right now, how to attain our goals, fulfill our ambitions, and yet grow to be spiritual and be free, to be innovative in this world and free also to be happy in this world. The first question that we have to ask ourselves, first question, it's very confronting, and sometimes one wants to escape from such questions, but until unless we confront our disease, until unless we confront the very cause of our disease, we admit it, till then we cannot find the solution. First and foremost is, suppose if we ask ourselves today, honestly to ourselves, that if I meet my Creator and I'm asked, with this precious life that was given to you, what did you do with it on your own? What did you do with it on your own that you can go and present that with what you gave me, this is what I have done? Not with arrogance, but just as a child who the parents have sacrificed so much for. What can we go and present to our parents and tell them, this is what I have done with the life you have given me? That our parents will be proud of us. In fact, the day we start asking this question, what have I done in my life? What others before me or others have not done? Has the child that I was, who had those ideals, who had those ambitions, who had an image of what you wanted to be proud of the man or the woman you are today? And if yes, great. If no, then it's high time we ask that question. And if you see, Bhagavad Gita starts with this question, Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kima kurvata sanjaya. What did they do? This world, which is the world of action, where we human beings have come to achieve. The question is, what have we done? In this Kurukshetra, this world of action, which is supposed to be Dharmakshetra, provide us the means by which we can live our life in such a manner that we reach our goals and destinations, at the same time benefit the maximum people around us. Know that Bhagavad Gita was not given to a failure, please. He was the greatest achiever of his time, that even his great-grandfather, his Bhishmacharya, whether it was Dronacharya, his guru, acclaimed him to be even better than him. What more laurels can you get? What more achievements can you get? That every warrior knew that if anyone who can win this most impossible war, if people may call it, it was only Arjuna. Look at the expectations that were there on him, because he has won that success, that laurels, those medals. Bhagavad Gita, temporarily Arjuna fell into a state of despondency, and therefore even from that condition to a highly successful achiever, Bhagavad Gita is not talking just how you can turn failure into success, but it's talking about how to take your success to significance. Yeah? Your success to greatness. And when at the age of 20 I read just the first and second chapter and third chapter of the Gita, the only regret I had in my life, why didn't I know it before? And I'm sure all of you who come to the Gita sessions will feel that way. But it's never too late. Don't say, I'm so old now that what will I do? There's a lot that you can do even then. You know? There's a lot that you can make happen even then. I remember when many young people had taken the Make It Happen course and they were talking to their parents. Young means they were middle-aged, 30, 40, and they were talking to their parents, they were talking to their spouses, they were talking to everybody. That one gentleman came up to me and told me, I'm retired now. I hear a lot about this Make It Happen course. What is it all about? I love coming to your discourses. You know? I attend every discourse with my family. But my son is talking about, this Make It Happen. What is it all about? And it's not meant for these youngsters who still have to make things happen in their life. So I said, so you are 60. I thought he was 60. Means he said he's retired. So I thought, no, he's 60, 65. So I said, now what are you going to do with your life? Sit and watch soap opera, Saas Bahu Ki Kahani. And waste away with your life. Good, your mortgage is paid up, your children are settled, they are educated. You don't have the compulsion to do what you need to do for your family, etc. Is it not time that you can do now what you always wanted to do? So he got quite motivated. And when he came to the sessions, you know what we discovered? He was 75. And he's gone setting such high goals to bring pure water. He was in the water industry. To bring pure water to third world countries at a very, very nominal price. I will not tell you the technology, he's working on it. because till he patents it, but he wants to give it freely, Other people will cash on it. What I'm trying to tell you is that every stage of our life, if we question ourselves, what have I done and what can I do? And at every stage of life, we can take ourselves to greater and greater achievement. I'm not talking only about material achievement, but even to understand what potential lies in each and every one of us. As Gurudev used to declare from the platforms and he used to say in his roaring voice, the Rishis have said, infinite is your potential. Success is your birthright. Nowhere you will find someone who is so motivating, And each one of us are unique. And each one of us has been brought into this world to express our greatness. And by playing small, we only make others feel low. When expressing our greatness, we allow others also to be great. That kind of living. A very simple formula has been given by Sant Kabir. Jab hum paida hue, jag hase hum roe. This is the story of everybody's life except Krishna. That when we were born, majority, what everybody, unless, then everybody panics if you don't cry. So they whack you at your bottom so that you cry. That's the expression of life. That when we were born, we were crying, and the more you cried, the world was celebrating. I think it goes on like that also, The more you cry, the others find it very entertaining. Have you seen all these soap operas? Yeah. जग हंसे हम रोए, ऐसी करनी कर चलो. Act in this world in such a way, हम हंसे, we go laughing and smiling, fulfilled and joyful, and the world pines for us. Not that you make the world cry. हम हंसे जग रोए. What a simple formula. That the world finds that our living was beneficial to them. That they want us, not say get out. Yeah, achawa, good riddance, bad rubbish. Yeah. Some people that we say also, this problem will never end until they die. The world is waiting for them to die, but such people don't even die. And seems good people die very early. Shankaracharya, Swami Vivekananda, all of them. And there are some people who just don't go. The world is waiting for them to go, but they won't go. Live a life in such a way, hum hase, jag roe. When we were celebrating our 50th anniversary of Chinmaya Mission, that was in 2001, Puja Guruji had told us that Gurudev brought this ancient knowledge to modern society in his very unique, innovative manner at that time. How will you take his work by doing something different? And actually we are stepping into the new millennium. Having given discourses on the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Ramayana, very often when people go to spiritual discourses also, we listen, we get inspired, we take some take-home points. We see a change happening in us, yet scattered all over our mighty, vast literature of our books of knowledge, of Vedanta, and works of saints, sages, and great people, and of our own Gurudev. There are such gems studded everywhere to deal with our life situations. I say the word situation because life brings to us only situations, never problems. When we cannot deal with them, or we don't know how to deal with them, or we find ourselves not confident to deal with them, then it appears as a problem. And these days it is crisis. It's very important to know the difference between this. Once I was traveling very far into a remote place, and I was very hungry. There was no food. And for hours and hours I was hungry. Now, when you are hungry and there is no area, no food available, if there's a house or a restaurant, you can go and eat. I remember once I was lost somewhere and I didn't know how to get to a phone to find out where I have to go. And then I saw one house with Ganesh ji. I just rang the bell confidently because I wouldn't be giving dirty looks to this fellow who's come here, like your neighbors. Now, if there is a solution available, it is not a problem, it's just a situation. If there was a restaurant there, it would not be a problem. Anyway, going further, I found a restaurant and I went to that restaurant. I was very hungry, so I started. It was probably some expensive restaurant, but luckily, normally I don't carry, but I had to go somewhere. I had some money in my pocket. So I was very hungry, and this is before I became a brahmachari, so I did carry money with me. So there was a restaurant, and being youngster, wearing, how youngsters wear t-shirts and all that, so that waiter looked at you up and down, whether you can pay the bill. And I was very hungry, so I went on ordering all the number of dishes that were there, and he kept saying, "You're sure you want it? You're sure you want it?" And when they brought the dishes, I asked for extra sauce and extra, this and that, and chutney and all that, and everything, according to him it cost. And they said, "It costs." I said, "Just bring it, So he went on bringing, and after he brought it, now if there's a restaurant, I've got money in my pocket, is it a problem? It's just a situation. If there was no restaurant or I didn't have money in my pocket, it would be a problem. After I have ordered these dishes, and then when he brings and I ordered the waiter around, go bring, because he's got an attitude. Why should I tolerate that attitude? So I order him around and say, bring quickly this and that, and I order him. And when you're hungry, you are kind of rude. So you order him around and everything, and then when he brings the bill, especially if it's in India, you scrutinize the bill. And then you send him back and forth that I did not eat this. He said, "No, Baba, you ate it." And then, this chutney, how much you're charging for this chutney? What chutney? Chutney should come in the package, I mean, if you're giving idlis, it should come with chutney and sambar. But if you drink sambar like you're drinking some large glass of American Coca-Cola, so naturally they're going to charge you. And I argue with him, and then I bargain with him, and also the manager is getting furious, and the waiter is getting furious. And then when I put my hand in the pocket, it slips out. Somebody has picked my pocket. Now what do you call this? Problem?
Crisis.
This is a crisis. So know the difference? Now you tell me in that situation what will I do? Even if I wash the dishes for them, what will I do? If you see earlier, people would say, this incident, this situation, then everything was no problem, no problem. These days, everything is a crisis in the company, is it not? Which only shows how less capable when the mind becomes, the situation escalates itself to become a problem and a crisis. Arjuna took that situation to be a crisis of no solution and he collapsed. And what did Krishna do? Showed him how to deal with that situation, gave him the strength, ability, motivation to act in that situation. And what did that happen? That same fellow who thought it was a crisis and became despot, he suddenly becomes the greatest hero of his time. Not only he made history, he made an epic. Therefore, our books of knowledge, the lives of great people, are great motivation for us. We may go for these motivation courses and they are good. Nobody says they are bad. But you go, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, and I can walk on fire, I can walk on fire, and then you walk on fire. And then say, I can do it, and yes, can you do it? Don't say it, just chant it aloud. I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And you walk over fire. Now anything you can do. And you say, yes, I'm going back home, I'm going to tell off my wife. And you go out chanting, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And when you go and you ring the bell and you say, I can do it, and you don't realize she's already opened the door. And she says, what? Nothing. How can we do it? So to understand the importance of learning about these topics, because that we have to face day in and out in every field of our life, whether it's our career, whether it is our family relationships, whether it is our mind. And therefore, extracting from all these various gems that are scattered all over the books of knowledge and lives of great saints and sages, as a tribute to our Gurudev and his works, we started the series of talk which I started was life management techniques, to take up pertinent subjects which relate to us here and now, which are there. Those gems are all over scattered in our books of knowledge. But because sometimes a gem is here, a gem is there, we cannot build it into a garland to see its full beauty. So these sessions, of course, I used to run it for 8 days. Nowadays, we want attention span is very low. They say, I don't agree at all. Don't say attention span is low. It's just that we are just not paying attention. Yeah? We still have that capacity, we still have that ability, and let's not lose it, because if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And each time we keep on compromising, it becomes less and less. Yes, but we want fast, quick, etc. So just after giving you this foundation, the topics that we took up, which were very pertinent, first and foremost was that when we are hit by a problem, what do we experience? You tell me. Fear, stress, anxiety, and what? As a consequence of it? Inaction and sadness. Sorrow. And when we are overcome with some regret, some sorrow, We become incapable. We are so enveloped by that emotion that we are not able to deal with this sorrow. Therefore, even in the Bhagavad Gita, the first thing Krishna says to Arjuna is asochan anvasochastvam pragyavadanscha bhashase gatasuncha nanu shochanti pandita. The first message of the Gita is you need not suffer. Not that we don't, but you need not suffer. We don't say that nanaka dukhya asabha sansara. If you really look at people's experiences, that's why nowadays we don't even say with Hari Om or hi. Hi. May my life is miserable, may your also be. Hi. All our children also. Hi. We're expressing our real feelings, all depression, dejections, that come about because of sorrow. Therefore, first thing we have to know is how to deal with our sorrow. How does the Bhagavad Gita end? Masucha. Don't grieve. So first of all, how to deal with our sorrow. Now very interesting it is that our program switched. But this topic elaborately I will be taking through one of our most beautiful gems from Sri Ramcharitmanas. And I don't mind giving, credits. Because I don't think you are people who say, this is from this scripture and this is, And that will be in our Atlanta Center. That is also part of life management techniques. And all you have to drive is 35 minutes. So, that topic I will be covering there. How to manage our sorrows. But since I knew that people of Alfreda, for them more important would be stress. That's why first you said is, because first you said was, what happens? Stress. And I had chosen the topic of stress only. Anxiety, So that only I had chosen. Sorrow we will deal with Atlanta. Because if you don't go there, they will be very sorrowful. So we'll teach them how to manage that sorrow. And we're teaching them that before you have sorrow, you manage it. So it's a very interesting topic. And you know what calamity hit Ayodhya? How did Ramchandraji go through that situation? How he made Lakshman and others go through those situations, and they were not even self-created problems. Therefore, the first message is refuse to be miserable. Find a solution to your misery. Don't stay in that. Now, one thing that we commonly experience is anxiety, stress, tension. In India we call it tension. But you see, all these words, stress, pressure of work we used to say. Now it is stress of work. See, the language itself has become so intense because we are experiencing such intensity of emotions. Now, why we are talking about management? To tell anyone, don't have anxieties, don't have worries. And that's how we keep telling our mind. And we think that the scriptures are telling us, don't have anxiety, don't have worries. That's why we said, better not worry about that also. That's not what our scriptures are saying. We have to understand them in true light. Every emotion is given to us for a reason. Tell me, is fear good or fear bad? If you're good at, now don't get stressed, it's not an examination. See, life management techniques, it's not like a one-way traffic. We have to be interactive, because as you respond, so will I. So tell me, is fear good or bad?
Necessary.
When someone is terrorizing you, it's bad. When you are terrorizing someone, it's good. Huh? See, every emotion is there in us for a cause. How do we manage that emotion? This is a very important point to understand. Otherwise, we go to these idealistic seminars of no fear. Fear is given to us by nature, by instinct. In the same way, when we fear the future, we develop what we call as anxiety, worries, tension, stress. Now, just as fear can be good and fear can be bad. Now, for example, if suddenly a snake spreads its hood and you are not one of those charmers, your instinct of fear that makes you jump quickly before it strikes. Or do you stand there, come from a motivational course? You're not going to fear. Actually, when I used to study about, as a kid, when I used to hear about Prahlad and how these snakes became garlands, I never feared snakes. But I didn't go around picking them up and wearing them as garland ritual. That instinct of fear is protective. But that fear which paralyzes you, that creates paranoia, that makes you imagine and makes you incapable, now that excessive fear becomes harmful. That's clear, is it not? Therefore, no emotion is negative in itself. It has been given to us for a cause. That's why, when people used to say about, no, I don't have any anxiety, immediately mothers particularly say, how can you not have anxiety for your children? Even if you use words that have no attachment, first thing we think is about our children, If we don't have attachment to our children, what will go on harming our children? We don't understand these terms in their true light. Their strength and their weaknesses, their importance as well as their distortions. Now, why am I taking so much time to explain this? Because these notions are there in our minds. Thus, even after a whole talk on how to manage our stress, your subconscious mind will reject it. Yeah? You will listen to it and say, that was very nice. Oh, that I already know. But your subconscious mind will reject it. And when it is to manage our life and to apply those techniques in our life, or very often it's not even doing something, it is changing our vision and our attitude. As simple as that. But we do not do it because immediately your mind will say, how can it be? How can you stay without worry? These are the kind of thoughts that come into our mind. So it is not that every anxiety is bad. For example, that anxiety that makes you prepare in good time. Otherwise that, chalta hai attitude. Arey, ho jayega na, that na itself is so long that you don't get the hint ki ho jayega na. God, work in India and then you come to know. You tell them, Arey, this thing is coming up, where is the thing ready? You think your children said take a chill pill? In that hot tropical climate, everybody is just chilled. Arey Swami ji, ho jayega na. And such people make you anxious. If they don't get. That's why, parents whose children are not worried about their examination, those parents get super worried. That anxiety which makes you meet up to your timelines, plan and prepare, that anxiety is healthy anxiety. But one day before the examination, either you are prepared or not prepared. My school teacher used to say that one day before your final examination, I want to see you in a movie theatre. Not literally, but basically you should be that relaxed, because if you have prepared yourself, there should be no reason for worry. And if you have not prepared yourself also, what is there to worry? In fact, it is inevitable that you are going to fail. Why worry about failing? Enjoy that night also, like you enjoyed all the days, Is it not? Why unnecessarily stress ourselves up? And we don't recognize the effects of it is not only inefficiency, blocking of your memory in an examination, test, interview, or just before a project, but its drastic effects that it has on your body. As you go out, if you find the, audio on Journey into Health or the book Journey into Health, that how many, I'm not saying all, but many of our diseases are triggered off by these moments of stress, fear, anxiety, or even grief or sorrow. And we don't need to do all this to ourselves and blame the world, blame the pollution, blame the traffic, blame everything else. It is not just that you have to work efficiently, or you should not be afraid in giving an examination or dealing with a problematic situation. It's long-term effect that can happen to your health. Many times I would sit with health practitioners who do kind of holistic practice and show them, demonstrate to them individual cases which were there in those clinics and hospitals, that how they start and they can also be easily cured when that mental attitude changes. I'm not talking about all disease. It is not that one should not go to medicine. I think you have to give disclaimers, right? But what do we do to ourselves to make ourselves suffer when it is not necessary? If only we knew the right attitude and techniques. Otherwise, we would say, or if I don't get anxious, what I am going to do? To make this topic very simple and by which you can remember it. And you know both the cause and the solution. When giving from different scriptures, when I went on explaining on how in Gita 3rd chapter itself, how to overcome stress and how to have success without stress. Yet we listen to these things, but we are not able to manage it because we can't remember it the time we need it, like karma. So when I was contemplating on this topic, it occurred to me, and it's not that words are made that way, but you can see through that, that anxieties, when they become intense, what we try to cover up with fancy words like, anxiety or stress, basically we worry, don't we? This word worry itself has in itself what is the cause and what is the effect. These worries only create tension in us, create stress in us, and those various responses to the world situations as well as to our body. Now, the first W, for easy to remember, I'm putting it, that's why, managing. The first W, I'm putting in very simple words, which has been explained philosophically. Worry comes to us when we have got anxiety for the future. Is it not? Now, why should you have anxiety for the future, fear for the future? They're all different intensity or names. Because most often when we think about the future, we as human beings because of our intelligence, are more aware of ourselves, and thus we can plan and to some extent foresee and predict our own future. You don't need an astrologer for that. Every mother tells the son, you don't study, you become a coolie. At least in India. Here you will say that. Okay. You'll flip back at us, so you'll be stuck with your parents for life. That's more dangerous than becoming a coolie, right? These days. We can foresee our future, and none of us want to fail. We know the consequences of our actions, and rather than taking care of our action in the present, we worry about the future. Now, that is commonly there. It's like as though become our nature. Now, what creates this anxiety? See, whenever we think about the future, we have to know the pros, cons, success, failure, loss, profit. But our mind thinks about the worst that can happen. Is it not? We brood about the worst that can happen. Now, the moment you think about the worst that can happen, naturally the mind is going to go into a negative gear. Worry, anxieties will come because when you imagine something, you're giving it a reality. In your mind it is real. That emotion is real because after all experiences are in your mind. The moment you think about the worst that can happen, not only you are asserting the worst that can happen. In longer sessions, I would give you a demonstration on stage itself, that what you make yourself go through and how you make the worst happen for yourself when you are capable for the best that could happen to you. Because we keep on thinking, and whatever we keep on thinking, we keep on directing our mind towards it. Now, when we think about the worst that can happen, naturally it's going to create in us some form of fear, anxiety, worries. Why do not we think that I have prepared myself and I can do my best. And the most wonderful things can happen also. No? Now if I've prepared myself, why should I think the worst is going to happen? Why don't we think that something wonderful is going to happen? In fact, the moment you think that something wonderful is going to happen, you become enthusiastic, is it not? We think, oh, we'll become complacent. On the contrary, when you think it's going to happen worst, your mind says, what's the point? See how your mind works. Rather than taking caution with the limited anxiety that you have and prepare yourself, well, it's going to fail only, what's the point? This relationship is not working, what's the point? No? You lose your enthusiasm, you lose your motivation, you lose your drive, and you're only brooding over the worst that can happen. You're actually living the sorrow, anxiety, or the remorse, or the regret without it happening also. Therefore, don't think about the worst that can happen. If you prepare yourself, think about the most wonderful thing that can happen. Now, when we think about the most wonderful thing that can happen, we get obsessed by that result. No? And in fact, we create fear afterwards. No? Therefore, the next O tells us, don't be obsessed with the result. Be optimistic, but don't be obsessed with the result. This is what Krishna says, karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan. He doesn't say, don't aspire for the results. We get so obsessed. When we are optimistic, we get obsessed that it should happen this way only. Now, to give you an example, so that you know, and this is a real life example, when I was living in Hong Kong, there again, being a metropolitan city like New York, even to get one small apartment costs, what would cost you to get this whole place? There, for very few old business houses that had homes, How lucky you are here, you can have such big homes. In Hong Kong, you have such big homes. They had homes, but when the parents passed away, they divided the house. And the worst thing is to divide the house. You better sell and give both of them to go and make their own homes. But this was a rare, land piece. So they divided the house. Now somebody had to get the front, somebody had to get the back. But we were never satisfied getting, So there was constant fight by the brothers. One had got the front, other had got the back. The one who had the back side was complaining that I should have got the front. Anyway, this fight was going on so long that the whole town knew about that. The brothers would talk to each other. Both got equal property, but one didn't get the front, other got the front. That battle was going on constantly. Now those days, we are talking about 1970s, where communication and Amazon was not there, that you can order online Kesari mango, Alfonso mango, or very hard to get mangoes. They were very, very expensive and hardly to get it. I remember when we used to take one basket of mangoes or one packet of mangoes, we used to have a complete party calling all friends and all that to just come and have those Indian mangoes, because nothing tastes. You can have all these other mangoes, nothing tastes like. Each state of ours has got its own special mangoes. Now, of course, people who are from Bombay and all that, originally Alfonso, Apus. And you can't, only from Ratnagiri, taste like this. This person, who had the backyard, since he had the backyard, and mangoes were not only they were expensive, but they were very hard to get. So what he did was, ate the sweetest of mango. Even I did it recently, ate the sweetest mango and making sure that it's a sweet species of mango and planted it in the backyard. And from the seed, it takes about 4 years for the plant to grow, and only on the 4th or 5th year, it starts giving a few fruits. He nurtured the plant and waited for 4 years to have mangoes. And finally the mangoes started appearing. They even, and anyway, in Hong Kong, all the birds are eaten up. So, they didn't have problems of birds, and they didn't have to put, like you all do, protect. And birds also got right to eat the fruits. You put all those plastics and all that. None of that. The fruits were there on the tree. He waited for it to ripen on the tree. He waited patiently, because when the mango starts coming, it takes about 2 months, 3 months to really ripen. He's waiting patiently for those mangoes. And finally, when the mango came on the table, even though it was yellow and orange, it was so sour. First of all, he's got the backyard. Then he gets mangoes. The sour life basically, is unfair on him. He was very grumbling about it. And of course, his wife also had triggered it off, why did you not fight for your rights and all that, And the elder brother was also saying that, let's end this fight. But the wife said, why you have to give it to this younger one all the time? All these things were going on in the family, both brother also, wives also, everything was going on. Till one day, and the story is quite well known, the older brother's wife, who had the front yard, she goes to her husband and says, this fight that is going on between your brothers, I think it's time to end. The husband is quite surprised. Because now he's fought this battle, he doesn't want to lose. His ego will not allow him to. No. Because traffic and pollution nowadays has increased. It's better to have the backyard. So he wonders, what is she trying to talk about? And she says, let's take why should we take the backyard? What is there in the back? Will be backyard, the driveway is like this. No, I don't want to do it, not now. She says, now the backyard has got a mango tree. He said, but you only told me the gossip that it was sour, and he was so happy that it was sour. She says, I'm telling you, I know that such type of wisdom wives have better than men. I'm complimenting her, please don't take anything. Kalidas has said, wisdom comes naturally to women, men have to learn it from books. And I'm not joking about it. It is not because men will have to take so many degrees, and wives, when crisis come, how these mothers become entrepreneurs, have you watched? Have they got an MBA degree? So I'm telling a matter of fact, Kalidas has said, so don't think in olden time women were put down, they were in fact complimented. She says, take the backyard. He said, but there are sour mangoes. She said, I'm telling you, just take it. That works with men, so they switched, their friendship became really good, and they were quite surprised that how come he's giving. They quickly took it because there's sour mangoes there, and they took that backyard. And when they took the backyard, this woman, what an entrepreneurship she had. She made homemade gourmet pickles. Took fancy jars, put all her old cloth on it, and sold that at a very, very high price, and imported the most expensive mangoes from India after having them tasted in India that they were sweet. Whenever we get fixed with a certain, obsessed with a certain result, we do not know that how many fold times we can get benefit from the result we get of our action. If we are not obsessed with the result, you can learn to maximize your results. Now, in entrepreneurship language, you will understand. We are so tunnel visioned that we cannot think outside the box. Look at that, what that lady did. That you want sweet mangoes, right? It doesn't have to come from your trees only. Now this man, the younger brother, was so disappointed that I did my best. I got the sweetest of mango, I planted it. But listen, the soil also matters, because mere desh ki dharti sona ugle hire moti. Where can you get that sweetness, you tell me? Not every soil can bring sweetness. It requires the right minerals, etc. No? See, when we get obsessed with the result, we not only create anxieties for ourselves, but at the same time, we lose out. Where you could turn an apparent failure into greater success. Now tell me, just a change of that attitude, that what I can do with whatever I get can get you greater success than just sweet mangoes. She got sweet mangoes, she's got a lot more money, and she can go and buy her designer handbag also. Without asking her husband. And plus she's brought about peace in the family finally. Think about it. Yeah? So, W, don't think about the verse. Think about the wonderful. WW, both answers, no? Wonderful. So that you'll remember it in your mind. Don't be obsessed with be optimistic, but don't be obsessed. Anxieties will be less. At the same time, you can maximize on your innovativeness and success. Okay? So this much enough for today. We'll continue it tomorrow. The topic is not complete, but we'll continue it tomorrow and then take to another important topics. The number of topics that is there in life management techniques we have taken, which is very pertinent. First of all, being grateful for what we have, then only we treasure it. And I pointed out what knowledge source we have, and we should treasure it. How should we manage our emotions, especially of grief and sorrow, which we will do in Atlanta. Yeah? And so that you don't have anxieties that can you reach Atlanta or not, we take the topic of stress first here in Alpharetta. Then also we must learn how to manage our wealth, because our finances have to be manage our wealth, manage our manager himself. And what is important to us, manage our love and relationships, which are very important in our life. And how do we create a balanced life? Now, in 3 days, We may hint at all the topics, but one or two topics we are going to be taking in detail, and they are interrelated. You deal with one and you manage one, the others will be solved. So even though each day will be a topic of its own, yet they are connected. I would suggest, leave aside your stress about traffic, leave aside your stress tomorrow of, today's Sunday, right? Saturday also, tomorrow is Sunday. Yeah? Leave our stress also of going home late at night because we finish on time. And Monday, don't be stressed at all. Because you can get off from work earlier on a Monday. Yeah, because you got the Monday blues. So, try to make it regular. Even though the hall is full, I'll tell them to put up some TV also so that others can benefit. So, keep the word spreading. Let the maximum people know about it. Even your youngsters, little children, put them to play there, but your youngsters will benefit highly from it, because these days, these anxieties are creating in them a lot of issues. So, see that they benefit from these topics. Even though they come from the depths of the scriptures, we'll be putting it in very simple words with day-to-day examples so that we will remember it and we can make that transformation. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya